All right, we will now have the next session. The session is Collaborating for Curriculum, how the academia, the industry and the employers come together and try to transform the quality of education. May I invite Dr. Sunil Pandey, Director IT, ITS Ghaziabad. अरे भाई थोड़ा जोर से तालियां बजाइए बैठिए सर बैठिए मिस मोना भारद्वाज मैडम प्लीज कम बैक Dr. V.S.S. Kumar, VC, Beltech Rangarajan, Dr. Shakuntala, R&D Institute of Science and Technology. And lastly, Dr. Anand Bhale Rao, Dean, College of Engineering, Bharati Vidyapeeth, Pune. Sure. On air? Okay, good. This is a very interesting subject. Collaborating for curriculum. How does the academia, industry and the employers work towards transforming the education quality? First of all, this is back in 2010. I have a very good friend from Synopsys. Somebody from Synopsys was here. I don't know whether he's still around. He's left, okay. Karen Bartleson. So she, at that time, was heading some division of IEEE. I had asked her this question about what you guys are doing to improve the quality of education all across the world. She came up with a very long answer. Okay. What are you guys doing in terms of trying to transform the quality of education that is being imparted in your respective universities and in your case, company? Let me start with you, Dr. Pandey. So the question again is, how are you collaborating with the industry and the employers and trying to transform education in the country? Look at the audience when you speak.
Thank you, Mr. Pradeep ji. Good afternoon, everyone sitting here. I'm Dr. Sunil Pandey from ITS Ghaziabad. This is the topic of this panel discussion is very pertinent and very relevant in present context. I would like to quote just 2-3 very recent reports. Those were shared at different forums. In the World Economic Forum, which was conducted in Doha, organized in Doha in 2018, during that summit, a separate session of CEOs of leading companies, the global companies, was also organized. And apart from all the discussion, the important part of the discussion, which is relevant for academia, was all of them, they expressed their concern that in their organizations, when they're looking for a resource, they're finding a huge gap between what is delivered at the institutions and what the expectations of industry are from passing out the students. And they were trying to find out what could be the reason and how it can be gapped. I will relate it to the report in the same year, which was published by Accenture. This Accenture report says that if, in the context of why I'm referring this, because now today academia has to understand what is expected out of them, and on the same time, the industry has also joined hand with the academia to ensure that their expectations are understood by those institutions. Otherwise, both of them are working in silo, and that's why this NASSCOM report every year comes, that 15 to 18% of passing engineers, they are employable, and rest of them are struggling. And instead of all the efforts, only 40 to 45% of passing graduates were employed in last year, which research report says. The NASSCOM last year itself, immediately after this World Economic Summit, they came up with a research report, what they published, and they said that in next 5 years, the strong pool of human resource, what IT industry, the technology is having, that about 40% of total resource required to be replaced by new things. Things includes the technologies which are coming, which are artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, and so on and so forth. Now, 40% resource, human resource, is expected to be replaced by the people either reskilling of those existing 40% employees, or our academic institutions are given that responsibility, or having that responsibility to train at least equal number of people, which will be equivalent to 40% of total population of around 4 million strong technical people. Now, 40% people are required to be either reskilled or to create a talent pool of these passing out students. It means a huge responsibility and huge opportunity institutions have. But the different part of this is still that academia has its own way of functioning, their own curriculum, and that curriculum in a conventional academic mode where university system exists, most of the time it happens that academic curriculum gets revised during the meetings which normally take place after 6 to 7 years down the lane. Now, if academia, that curriculum is, and that those institutions which are affiliated to universities, they do not have that flexibility to introduce some course which is with credit associated, some credit is associated. So there are institutions, those who are working by providing some value-added module, providing some additional training on technology. But I think unless a complete ecosystem takes all these things into aspect and align with the changing dimensions, it would be really difficult to create a pool which will cater the needs of industry. And that's why there is a strong need of joining academia, industry, and they need to sit together. They need to find out the time, sit together, discuss, guide academia, and not only guide, but also, if I refer just for example, recently I was going through a university syllabus where a subject of big data was introduced, but it has no lab component. .NET framework as a technology is included in the course curriculum, but it does not have lab component. Cloud computing is a subject which has been introduced and has to be taught. It doesn't have any lab part. And once that syllabus was changed, nobody bothered that who is going to teach these big data, cloud computing, data center, all these subjects. So faculty remains same. Either faculty prepares on their own with their resources or whatever it is, or referring to some standard textbook or content and delivering the classes, subject is completed, student write their examination, pass, without having any practical exposure of those things. So this is one of the biggest challenges which needs to be looked into, where until that curriculum needs to be, is focused towards actual requirement, and then appropriate training and facilitation to manage, the mechanism is in place. This is going to be difficult for academic institutions to.
Sure.
Hello.
Your remarks.
Yeah, all right. Thank you. So yeah, I think I would also like to step back a little and define the problem here. And for that, I'd like to quote a few statistics. In the years to come, and very soon in fact, 1 out of every 5 working professionals will be from India. The US will be short of jobs by about 17 million, short of people who can do jobs by 17 million. China by about 10 million, Japan by about 9 million, and guess what it is for India? We will have a surplus of 47 million, right? So that is the opportunity and advantage that India has. We will be churning out the maximum number of working professionals very, very soon. And to look at this as an opportunity also because we are right now at the threshold of Industry 4.0 revolution, it's really the right time to go back and check as to how we can make all of these students ready for the big opportunity that we have at hand. And very rightfully, I think this forum has also set up for discussion on the curriculum aspects. There are things that we do as part of IBM, but I think as sir has rightly pointed out, the ecosystem is really required to come together. There are various roles that each one plays, be it academia, the government, and the industry, right? Somewhere something needs to pull all of this together so that these efforts can really be materialized to making great progress in this direction. The curriculum needs to be a lot more maybe adaptive in some ways. So when we say that, I think IBM does sit at Board of Studies in some institutes. We are also able to give some recommendations. And similarly, a lot of others in the industry as well do that. At IBM, we do have people who are able to give curriculum, though it comes at a cost, but there are colleges that take it for certain special areas which they would like students to be taught. For example, the cloud or all the emerging technologies. And it could be like a 1 year, 2 year, whatever curriculum that is required, or there are electives as well that are made available through that. I think we've also worked with the with NITTTR for putting together certain curriculum for AICTE as well, which has gone live quite recently, again in some of the emerging technologies for colleges to adopt. But beyond that, it's also very important to see how can faculty be able to cope with all the prescribed curriculum that is being put together. And as I had also said in my earlier presentation, I think there is a real requirement for blended form of learning for faculty as well. Not just through any regular ways that they may be learning, but we need to also maybe connect the startup ecosystem with this. There are a lot of startups, more than 3,000 startups today in India that are working in the educational space. And many of them also are looking for people whom they can teach and may not be getting clients to that extent, but they're really good. Maybe there is a need to connect the dots as well there. They do a lot of good teaching that happens there. There are companies like IBM that also do train the trainer. We have badges that are given away for faculty as well. And we blend it together with whatever is available online. And of course, a lot of free software that is made available as part of academic initiative from IBM. And this is really something that IBM has invested in to be able to make it available to academia. And I must say that there are a lot of institutes that are making great use of the software that is available for free. And there is more scope for it to be used as well. So I think in that sense, beyond having an adaptive curriculum, it's needed that we have thought leadership, people who can pull everybody together from all the three sectors that I mentioned, and focus as well on a holistic development for the student. So I would really put it under three categories, which is an adaptive curriculum, good thought leadership, as well as a holistic development for students. Thank you.
Curriculum is one of the important aspects in engineering education. I'll just share one of my example in 2000 in my university. There they started the subject like artificial intelligence at that point of time. That's at Usman University, Hyderabad. The person who created this particular curricula took syllabus contents unit 1 to unit 5 from the different books, foreign books and different books. Finally, it was given to the different affiliated college and university college. None of the teacher in a position to teach the subject, nor the students in a position to buy the textbook. Then finally, the percentage rate is hardly 5%. Then we look back into this particular reason. Immediately, students are not in a position to study. Teacher is not in a position to teach. That's a problem where when we define the curriculum. Curricula should be defined in collaboration with the stakeholders, that's from the industry, even alumni, different students, then only the curriculum will go for the reality. Similarly, when you create a curriculum, then you have to train the teacher in that particular subject much before giving it to the students. That's training, faculty training should be in the subject domain. Not in the general faculty training. The person should be taught in the same syllabus content, then only they can teach better in this particular area. That's one of the points I really faced in my university as a faculty member, as an administrator of the university. Third point, yesterday I had an interaction with Dr. Kasturi Rangan, the chairman of the National Education Policy. There he mentioned very clearly, because of the many failures in the system, starting from the first year, second year, third year in the engineering system, when the final year students comes to the final year, he is with some backlogs with 2 digits like 20, 25, not in a position to complete the program in his lifetime. For that, we should prepare the curriculum in such a manner, if the students want to come out of the institute at the end of the first year, he should be given some certificate, maybe dealing with the ITI. At the end of the second year, some certificate dealing to the diploma. +2 students normally will join diploma certificate, some certification at the end of the third year. So that students would get benefited, that type of curriculum we have to make it. Simply if we just feel it, this is a wonderful curricula organized from Stanford University, Harvard University, we would like to implement here when there are no books at all, when there's no teacher to teach, then finally what will happen to these students? Finally these students will become criminals at the end of the program. Because when I was heading the university JNTU, we have about 263 affiliated colleges. Out of 263 colleges, more than 50,000 students are getting graduated every year. Out of 50,000, only 30 to 35,000 are passing with full all subjects. Rest of the 15,000 students are not at all passing with backlogs of 20, 25 subjects. To help these people, we have to take care that some certification should be given at any point of time, either in the end of the first year, second year, third year, so that they will get benefited. That's even the aim of the Honorable Prime Minister also, by giving some training so that these people can get benefited. So by creating the curriculum, we have to take care syllabus, the textbook should be available, and also online subject should be available in that particular area, at least if the teacher is not in a position to teach. If the quality of teachers are not available, quality is not in good shape, then we have to give the training to those faculty members, then only this particular syllabus, revising the syllabus really will be helpful to the university system. Thank you very much.
Very good afternoon to you all. I think topic is very nice and it is a matter of interest for me also. My first colleague has said that there is a huge gap between academic and industry. This word I am listening it from 30 years back, when I was 23 years old, until today, this word is going on. And I say that there will be a always gap between academic and industries. Academics cannot run with the speed of the industry, because the objective of academics and objective of industry is different. Objective of industry is to earn money, to earn profit, and interest of academic institution is to create the human resources which will be useful for this nation. However, in that case, it has been taken in a different way, and academic institutions have gone on their way and industry has gone on their way. So there was a parallel rail. So we have to overcome this one. We have to come out of this one. And as far as my university is concerned, we have tried to solve this problem. We have TCS and Bharati Vidyapeeth University came together, and we have started one new program, which is BTech Computer Science and Business System. Before that, we have done the survey and collected the data from minimum 30 industries. And what the industry exactly wanted, what type of engineer they wanted, what type of curriculum they will require for the future engineer. So that data we have collected, we have assessed, and we have developed the curriculum in 2 parts. The one is, first, the course structure is only designed and not the syllabus of all the subjects. Syllabus of only first year subjects we have developed, and year on year we are adding that one, so that what is the latest we can add it in our curriculum. So these things we are doing it, and we are getting a very excellent results of that one. Number one, industry always talk about the academic institutions, ki they are not producing the employable engineers, but industry never come forward for the investment. I always say that 0.1% of their profit is a very big amount for the academic institutions. Mona has said about the faculty development and all this one. Yes, faculty development is the major issue, and if we want our teachers to be compatible with the latest knowledge, we have to train them, we have to develop them, we have to give them additional knowledge, and for that we have to invest. And academic institutions have less funds available for such activities. So in that case, if industry comes forward and take the small responsibility of faculty development, I think it will be a great help to the academic institutions. One more thing with my experience, I say that in each department of the university or engineering colleges, if we have industry advisory board, so all members from the industry will be in the board, and very regular meeting, they will monitor the program. And because of this monitoring by the industry, we can do many miracles. This is my experience. As far as academic institutions are concerned, academic institutions are always governed by university rules, regulations, and government rule regulations. Autonomy will definitely play an excellent role. We have experienced that. My institute developed miraculously when we have got the deemed university status, when we have got the autonomy. We did many things or many changes. As AICT has done internship mandatory in 2012, we started this mandatory internship in 2007. So many changes we could bring it in academics because of the autonomy. So such important things are there, and industry should always come forward, then definitely there will be change. New program we are starting in the next year, that is a BTech Robotics and Automation. I will not take the names of the two companies, but two big companies, international companies are coming with us to start that program. And in every stage, they are involved with the curriculum development, faculty development, training to the faculty. So such involvement is there from the industry. Definitely the picture will change in due course of time.
Some very interesting points raised. Gap exists between industry and institutions. My question to all of you is, what can be done or what should be done to reduce the gap? You are working with two companies, just for example. What can be done and what should be done to further reduce the gap between the industry and the institutions?
Yes. The days have over now कि academicians will only define the curriculum and they will teach according to that. No, industry and academic institutions must come together and they should design the curriculum. For every program, we must have association of the industry. Without association of the industry, if we run the program, again the same case will happen, that graduates will be there, but no employable graduates will be there. This is number one. Number two is a training to the faculty members. We have associated with Indian Institute of Statistical Sciences for the training of our faculty members for new programs. So they are giving such excellent training to the faculty members that after that training, I have seen that the faculty members' view is entirely different in the teaching. Third thing is, we are expecting employable students from the teachers who have never gone to the industry. Because we don't have the training programs for the faculty before he joins the academic institutions. So that type of training must be there to the teachers, as well as in his performance appraisal system, he has to spend minimum 15 days per year in the industry. Then only he will understand what is going on in the industry and necessary changes in curriculum, necessary changes in his teaching ability and all this and also. One more very, our Honorable Vice Chancellor is here. He may like it or not, but 4 years period for the engineering, I don't think it is sufficient. We have to give serious thought on this one. You go for dental, you go for medical, you go for Ayurveda, you go for homeopathic. The curriculum is more than of 5 years. So for engineering also, and in that 5 years, all health sciences, everyone has to work internship of 1 year. If he don't complete the internship, he don't get the graduation certificate and he is not permitted to practice. Like that, for engineering also we must work. Our curriculum must be of 4.5 years and we must include somewhere the different types of internship so that the student will be well aware about what is happening in the industry. This is the way we can come together and proceed for this one.
Yes,
And
so
one
you
more
would-
suggestion I had given, that industry advisory board to each department will change the scenario of that department.
Sir, you were going to say something?
Very rightly said, so that faculty is in fact the strength of an institution who is responsible for taking everything to the class which makes the classroom engaging, happening. And only then students start participating, and that participation makes something, a kind of foundation to create something which can yield a result at a later stage. But I would like to just touch upon, like a student when he takes admission in 4-year degree program like a BTech or any other equivalent program, the kind of input we get, I'm not criticizing that what kind of input, but this is the fact that when a student takes admission in engineering college, unfortunately, if this year, if we take that statistics, the enrollment of engineering student, barring a few 10, 15 institutions, at most of the institution, almost 50% seats are vacant. Why? Because in some or other way, these passing students are giving that feedback or passing that feedback to their known. And of course, once a student today comes to the institution, he is well informed and he knows what points he needs to be understand at the institution. That foundation somewhere lacks. So this is not only the higher education, the T schools where actually the curriculum redesign or curriculum development or faculty training is required. Because ultimately the input which is coming to the engineering colleges also many a times, because when we interact with the students, with the parents, many a time it happens, still the decisions are being taken by the elders. Yeah, elder brother did engineering, got placement at some good company, then that legacy carries somebody in nearby area. So what happens without understanding, and it is very difficult to make sure that the student understands his ability. But this is the fact that a student or his parents are known, if they make decision based on these observations that somebody has done that and succeeded, and then accordingly they, without taking note of it, what the ability of his ward is, if he goes for engineering or technical education at some point of time, he finds it difficult to continue, and we see every year a good number of students, they leave their engineering courses in the first year itself because they're not able to cope up. Now, emphasis has been started giving on STEM education, where people have started thinking that now, if we see the current scenario, now a student who takes admission today, he is going to industry after 4 years. So unless we have that feeling, unless we foresee what actually is required after 4 years down the lane, and start working today, of course that solid foundation is required, that BTech first year course is designed in such a way that every student gets everything required for a foundation to carry out the engineering program. But what is required after 4 years down the lane when we are completing the course, if it cannot be foreseen today, and accordingly the steps is taken, this is going to happen after 4 years down the lane. So, seeing the future, because I was referring to World Economic Forum discussion of CEOs, those who are leading these global companies. Their worry was the way technology is changing, the way requirements are changing with the new advent of technology, new emergence of concepts. Unless we include this here, we start working on it, the result is going to be same after once he passes out. So the one thing, the STEM education has to be firmly followed, because objective of STEM education is not to provide the education of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, but to create a solid foundation that logical and analytical thinking mind who can take up and accept the requirements which are expected to be there. Like this, in the same meeting, people refer that deep learning is going to be the maddening dictator. Now, what will happen after 4 or 5 years, I don't know, but this is what they are talking about. If machine learning is picking up very fast, if AVR systems are coming up very fast, unless we have that ecosystem which ensures that these inputs are taken, translated, transformed, and then taken to the classroom, and for that classroom, again, the point what Dr. have referred, that faculty, because even if we collaborate with the industry, that industry people are not there throughout the time to guide. Somebody needs to take from them and to take it to the classes. So that STEM, if it is properly followed, it will definitely create a foundation, a base, where a student would be in better position to think critically, analytically, and then as an academic institution, still we have that conventional mode of teaching, the teaching pedagogy, teaching learning pedagogy at most of the places is conventional. And that needs to be understood. I'm not saying that this is going to happen overnight, but over the period, it needs to be understood. And if we do not understand timely, these institutions, the universities, those who are understanding it, taking care of it, of course, will create their elite class, and rest of the institution will be following in the class where we will continue creating unemployable resource. So a thought process has to be given on one, the faculty dimension, to create that base who actually can take up these engineering technical courses like STEM education, and good schools, they've already started working on it, and soon we may see the results. And other thing, that collaborative research, even once I was visiting this Western Sydney University, Australia. In India also people are doing that. Collaborative teaching has started, because now we have subject which is not an individual subject where faculty of one subject goes and delivers. Now a subject, like a subject of big data, if one has to understand, he needs to understand databases, he needs to understand the computer network, he needs to understand the analytical thing, he needs to understand the concepts of artificial intelligence also. Now if these things are required to deliver this course in a better way, then if we can have 3 experts in a class, and this is happening. The Manipal Group is one of the institutions where we implemented it way back in 2004. Where people, of course, that requires lots of training, synchronization between faculty members, but these are the things which are, which should start, where collaboration among institutions, among institute and industry is required, and then that support from industry will always help and will fuel the academia to understand, adopt, implement, and then finally to create a competent pool of talent which will be useful for industry as well, and which will create value for the academic institution.
So, one other point that you all raised was, okay, the 4-year curriculum needs to be rethought. I have one more query here. How about 6-month and 1-year curriculum?
VC sir is the right person to answer.
Please answer. So, he said that 4-year curriculum needs to be rethought. I have added one more dimension. How about institutes who are offering 6 months and 1 year? What do? They are completely gone?
No, this particular 4 years to 5 years is not the point here. We have a lot of vacation like winter's vacation, summer vacation. We can make use of that particular vacation properly. We can finish the coursework particularly in 3 years, 1 month. We can make use of that particular 10 months for the training program. Student can better train. Accordingly, they'll get benefited. Particularly, second year, end of the second year, end of the first year, almost it will go for 6 months. These 6 months will make use of this particular vacation period for the training, and so that we can finish the complete coursework much before the stipulated time. And rest of the 10 months we can use it for the different industrial training. We can send it to the different areas, whether it's in the India or abroad, so that students can get well placed. Within 4 years we can complete it.
So, yeah, please.
So I'd also like to acknowledge that even within the industry, reskilling is really a very big deal. It's not as rosy as it may be looking from outside, that the industry knows everything on day one. No, there are technologies that come in, people, have to live up to those standards, and then only they are selected for projects to be able to deliver and really get that hands-on. So while this problem exists in academia, reskilling is a huge issue within the industry as well, which a lot of corporates are trying to address in many ways because technology keeps changing. And even if you keep updating curriculum, for example, yes, there is a need to continue to keep updating it all the time. I think there is at least a 3-year window now when the curriculum gets updated in many places, which is a good thing. My own humble opinion is that there should be probably some part of it as a fixed curriculum and some part of it as a variable curriculum. We need to all be mentally ready for the fact that the variable curriculum will continue to vary very often. We may need to have people from different institutes teaching in colleges where that is not there, other than, of course, the industry itself. And it's not that every institute needs to have entire amount of self-sufficiency. A lot of collaboration between institutes and with the industry will certainly help. The electives model, of course, which is already existing, that really helps. So in some ways, the model, I think, is there. All that is needed is probably little extra expertise maybe for both students as well as teachers. In terms of students, I think if they're also allowed to kind of teach each other, there is a short lecture methodology which certain colleges try, and they allow students to come out with what can be taught to each other as well. I think it needs to get blended in a lot of ways. The older way of, only the teacher coming and teaching in the classroom was really something for the older society. With all these changes, today's academia also really needs to change and has to actually accept many different forms of the way teaching can happen in classrooms. Just to let you all know, there are also some colleges which look at, right now I think the 8th semester has internship. In 7th semester, they invite industry to actually define some part of the curriculum. I don't know how much flexibility each of these have, but there are certain colleges that have tried to make some headway in that direction. So what happens is, certain students may be, let's say, interested in a cybersecurity curriculum. They go more deep into that area, and those who are trained in cybersecurity, for example, can actually continue with internships in the same area in the 8th semester. So that makes it really very useful for industry, because on day one, when the student joins, he or she is ready for the projects. So there are certain models, I think, and which can also be adopted across maybe.
As one line suggestion to the industry, I think Mona is working like that only. If every industry establish a small department and they appoint some university relationship manager who can be the single point of contact for the academic institutions to the industry, it will definitely solve many issues, many problems.
One more point was made. Somebody said industry is not coming forward with investments. Was it you, sir? Can you elaborate a little bit more? and what can the industry actually do to help the academia?
Yeah. In a morning panel discussion, one of the panelists said that performance of the institute or performance of a student cannot be judged on the basis of the placement. I strongly believe that because the placement is the pedagogical effect of the good teaching learning process and the knowledge which has been imparted to students. And for this one, the faculty is very at most, what we can say, the vital point in that one. Or I can say in other words, the crux of all these problems is the faculty. We have to have a faculty which is updated, which is well trained, and which is always remaining or having the aptitude to remain in conversant with the new developments and all this one. I think she has given the one presentation about, what was that?
Adaptive curriculum.
No, prior to that, no. I think in first panelist has given that presentation about the, something was in that, I mean, you can take the video photographs and immediately, directly it was like that. So that type of knowledge, if every faculty member is with him, then only he can produce the good students. Lens, it was a lens about that. So he can produce the good students. And these good students means what? They must have the analytical ability, they must have the ability of problem solving, because we cannot produce the engineers which are according to the requirement of the each and every industry. Every industry's requirement is different. So we have to prepare a student who has some basic and good qualities. And who will spend for this? We have been controlled by various regulatory authorities about the charging of the fees from the students. We cannot go beyond that one. So in that one, we have to maintain the academic institute. We have to pay the salary of faculty members and some development work. So for faculty development, if industry come forward and spend at least 0.1%, or in some of the institutions, some of the industries, 0.01% of their profit for only faculty development program, it will be a great amount to the academic institution, and it will make a lot of transformation in education.
Any questions, anyone, by the way? Yeah, oh, plenty. Where's the mic? So wait. Who goes first? Okay. Sir, आपके पास आ रहे हैं बात.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for the enlightening discussion. I'm Sunanda, and we represent an organization called Concept, and we are coming up with a magazine, Career Beacon. Now, the question is to everyone, including the audience. What is the purpose of education? Is it to make the people job ready, or is it to inculcate the values that is required for the corporate?
First is placement.
Yeah. So if it is a placement, then why industry is having a lagging behind when we are placing the student? Even if the student is coming out of the school, he is not employable. That means there is a gap. Right? And if corporate values are not inculcated, then he is not good to be a part of the corporate, because he cannot sail through the things, either through the politics or to the day-to-day thing. So what is the basic purpose of education?
I will answer. In my view, the basic purpose of any academic institution is to create a human resource who will be the contributory member of the society. So this contributory member of the society is having the very large meaning. Wherever he goes, he should be able to transform the society on the basis of the dynamic knowledge which he has got. So this must be the objective of any academic institutions.
Are we really doing that?
Now, Are we doing that or not? For that only you and me came together for the discussions. And we all have to come together and find out the amicable solution. As I mentioned, industry should come forward. Academic institutions should not feel that, who are you to teach us? We are age-old teachers and all this one. We must learn from each other and find out the solution. As we have tried in our university, we requested TCS. TCS came with us. And other industries also coming with us for starting the new program. So this is the way we have to go one step ahead in this direction.
Yeah. No, I fully support what the last panelist on my right-hand side has said. The tussle between the academia and the corporate industry business houses is existing for the last 25 years. I fully support what you're saying. And no solution is coming forward. Each is blaming each other. For the last 5 years, government is watching, regulators are watching, and they are keeping quiet. They are not coming out with some policy. You have suggested the purpose of business, industry, corporate is ROI, whereas the purpose of the academia is to create good citizen, good this thing. So it does not match. So you have given suggestions, some of the profit earned by the corporate industry businesses should be spent in the development of the faculty, in shaking hand with the academia to bring out the best syllabi in the world. I fully support that should happen out of the corporate social responsibility 2% fund. The one suggestion which I gave where the Joint Secretary Ministry of HRD was there, that each company is supposed to have 2 independent directors. At present, only 10% of the company in the entire country has the independent director. Why not the Vice Chancellor or the head of the department of deemed university institution should be taken as independent director on those companies, so that there should be a proper friendly liaison that what industry has the last 10 years emerging areas and what they are doing in the manufacturing, IT, in the pharmaceutical industry, in the food processing industry, automobile industry, solar power, wind power. There are so many emerging areas. So that the academia should prepare the student so that after 5 years they should be employable. Nobody should blame कि आपके बच्चे employable नहीं है, ये नहीं है, वो नहीं है. They are actually, blackmailing the institution by paying them less. So I tell you one story about 5 years back where general manager of IBM was also, HR was also sitting. I took the challenge for this thing कि आप मुझे ये बताइए कि आपको किस टाइप का स्टूडेंट चाहिए और दिल्ली टेक्निकल यूनिवर्सिटी, I being a joint secretary of the alumni, I promise कि जो आपकी तस्तरी में एक थाली में वही परोसूंगा 4 साल के बाद जो है. उन्होंने मेरे को 5 साल हो गए अभी तक जवाब नहीं दिया. उन्होंने कहा शर्मा जी व्हाट इज द गारंटी कि अगर इफ आई शेयर दैट सिलेबस विद यू और आप बच्चों को वो पढ़ाएंगे, अगर वो कहीं मेरे कंपटीटर के पास चला गया तो मेरा क्या होगा? तो दिस इज ऑल ट्रस्ट गैप, सो मेनी थिंग्स आर देयर. सो आई थिंक अनलेस देयर इज ए लेजिस्लेशन बाय द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया कि ये दोनों का देश के तरक्की के लिए, जीडीपी को बढ़ाने के लिए, 5 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी को करने के लिए आपस में एक ट्रस्ट हो, एक दूसरे की हेल्प करें, जब जाकर होगा, ऐसे खाली बातों से नहीं होगा.
Thank you.
Sir, I hope you are reading Gita sometime. In Gita, 6th chapter is Dhyana Yoga. And in that one, Arjuna asked the same question to Sri Krishna. How to process, how to progress. Sri Krishna said, Shanaihi Shanaya Rupamamedata. That means slowly, but in the fixed direction with the fixed objective. If you continue to try, one day you will get the success. So let us try. Let us make this successful. It is possible. I have done something and I got very good results of that one. If everyone goes ahead, I think it is possible, sir.
Hello, my name is Ramesh Chandra. I retired from NHPC. My observation are like this. Our engineering courses are always being updated as per the requirement of the industry and society. Further updation is also required as per the time. So there is nothing new what you are discussing. It is only addition, value addition to the updation of the courses. This is my point. My sincere request to all of you is this: as one of you suggested, there should be some amount or funding from the industry for the institutions, and institutions should ensure that updation is done very honestly in that to meet the requirement of the present requirement of the industry.
Yeah, Professor, the way you said, there was a proposal by AICTE to make a engineering course instead of 4 years to like a medical course, 5.5 years. Because you should not give degree in mechanical or electrical, or it should be general degree like MBBS degree. So that PVG degree is a specialization instead of UG degree is a specialization. But there was a argument from the other side that the private engineering college, they want to just make money. So that's why they want to extend course for a 5.5 years. So what is the now status? Why not to come to conclusion so that everybody is benefited with this type of conclusion?
Thank you.
For universities which are autonomous, for them administratively starting the program of 4.5 years is not a difficult job. They can start it. But they have to be in competition with the others also. If one thinks that in this university I will get engineering degree in 4 years, and this university I will have to spend 6 months more, then cost and many other things comes. So when all together, as AICTE is a regulatory authority, if it decides that we should increase this by 3 months or 4 months or 6 months, I think it will serve, then it becomes applicable to all and it becomes very easy for this one. But it is, as I am continuously trying, last 16 years I am working as a principal and dean of the faculty. I am continuously trying to increase the interaction with the industry. So leader has to go to the industry and bring the industry to the academic institutions. And I believe what type of your approach is there. On that one, industry now started believing on academic institutions. And they are coming forward, maybe slowly, maybe with small steps, baby steps, because they will go ahead. Their main business is not education. Their main business is something different. So spending energy on this side, they will definitely go carefully. But now they are thinking seriously. And you take it TCS, you take it Wipro, they have done a lot of things for the academic institutions. So if all industries do some small things, it will change. It will. Yes. Now, academic institutions should also learn. How do we go for a particular program? We have standard set of theory lectures and then we have practicals. So this we should change it. There are many ways, as the time is limited here, but we should change this also.
So I think just to add, maybe, we probably need to go over the entire curriculum and see what is it that is necessary to be kept, right? Because we are only adding, and keeping on adding is also putting a lot of pressure on academia, as I can see, right? But there are certain aspects which can be reviewed by the industry to see whether is this even required by any industry at all. And then look at reducing the curriculum there, adding what is variable, and then continuously having more interaction. It is true that, there are very many academic institutes in the country for any one company to actually be working with so many. But given that there are this many industries as well, I think there can be some sort of a fair division between academic institutes if each industry is coming forward. Like IBM, I think there are so many other companies that are also coming forward. So hopefully the part of curriculum that will continuously keep changing will also be benefited as academia continues to reach out more and more to the industry partners who are willing to come forward.
Sure.
Hello. Yeah, a very good afternoon, and I'm Dr. Padmakali Banerjee, Pro Vice Chancellor of Amity University. Well, I think it's a pleasure listening to a lot of thoughts, but I was very tempted to say a few things because there's no clear-cut solution in terms of a pill, a magic pill that will set it rolling. However, certain things, for example, that we keep talking about is like three very important eyes beyond India. We are talking about innovation in teaching, learning, and curriculum design and development. Industry integration, where we were talking about the give and take between the industry, and internationalization. So if you have a global perspective, have a close connect with the industry, and design your curriculum. Today it is the need of the hour, like in engineering degrees, where there are other new courses which are coming up. For example, machine learning and, data sciences. These are becoming very important areas. So you cannot fight back. So there would be an evolution. And looking at the curriculum, it has to move on. The three most important pillars, like all academics talk about, like knowledge, we talk about, which is very important, which comes the core content, the attitude, which needs to be taught, and definitely the skills. So I think there has to be an amalgamation, an eclectic approach. And I think there also is a need for creating a league where the senior academic could come together and some of the industry people who get together and we work. Because our students, yes, they are going for industry immersion programs. There's a huge learning. Courses like, say, MBA Business Analytics, they're hitting today because that's the need. We cannot go back now, we have to go. We are going through a very, very transformational change. Hence, I think we're looking at the kind of technology, how do we really bring technology in the learning as a means to an end. The end is the knowledge. Technology is a via medium. Once you had printing press, then we had internet, then we have online open resources. Today we are talking about large data. So I think it's a continuous process. So I was very tempted to share this. And it is very interesting thoughts which are coming. But yes, there has to be a sentient group of people working together for a common objective. Thank you.
Totally agree, and I think I'd also like to add that the communication skills and certain other soft skills are also a very integral part. How much ever technology a person knows, once he or she joins a company, if he's not able to speak to a client and show what he knows, it's really not very useful. And this is something that many companies are struggling with also today. This is some part of the static curriculum that really can be looked at in terms of improving children's future, basically.
I will just add to her. Yes, this is possible, and some of the institutions and universities are doing. But for that one, again, the same point which I have mentioned in my first answer, that autonomy is the biggest or main issue nowadays. If you give autonomy to the institutions, definitely they can make a lot of such changes in their curriculum and all this one. We have introduced professional skill development subject. It's a mandatory course. In that one, what you said, all that soft skills and everything is there, including how to write a mail to a higher authority or any person. So it is possible when autonomy is there. In getting autonomy to things, some bureaucratic process is there, and sometimes there is a resistance from the academic institutions itself. We don't want autonomy, we want to hide behind the name of the university to which they are affiliated. They have a fear of competition. That is the main issue.
Okay. Sorry, can you repeat yourself?
No, if the autonomy is given, it's a very vague word here, autonomy. I have the cases where the full autonomy was given, the education was not affordable. India is not only Delhi or Bombay, India is in the villages, and the education became so costly that it was not affordable, not reachable to this thing. So keeping that in view, inclusiveness, autonomy should be limited to syllabi or something, not in other areas,
Yes.
जहाँ मनमानी करें, जिसको लेना चाहें लें, जितनी फीस करना चाहें करें.
Autonomy doesn't mean that like
Yeah,
that.
it should
It is not like that.
limited.
I mean to say autonomy, academic autonomy, and the autonomous institutions should also follow the fees regulation and all this one. They can decide the fees on the basis of the recommendation from the committee and their expenditure. But as far as academics is concerned, there should not be any control by anyone on that one. Then only they can make such changes.
Okay, thank you very much. May I request Ms. Mona Bharadwaj to please come here and give mementos to all these speakers. First, Dr. Sunit Pandey. Dr. V.S.S. Kumar. उसको रखो. And lastly, Dr. Anand Bhale Rao. One memento from me to you. Thank you. Thank you. अरे ठीक है